Hi weaving friends, I got a question on my YouTube channel and it's about the Ashford table loom and more specifically about having a shuttle race on your Ashford table loom, which I have here. And I thought, you know what, I think it's just easier to kind of do an experiment in order to answer this question properly. Actually, when the question was asked by Tom, I thought, actually, you know, I hadn't really noticed enough to give an answer. So the best thing to do in that circumstance is to investigate and explore and see what you come up with. I've got to give a couple of disclaimers first because this is not the best warp that I have ever done. I'm not super proud of this one. For one thing, it's lopsided, so there's more room on this side of the reed than there is on this. And the other thing is that I did run out of heddles, and so I thought, okay, no worries. I'll just make some heddles because this is actually, I'm using all 8 shafts here. And I didn't realize that I didn't have enough heddles. You know, sometimes you get complacent. You're like, let's just thread this baby up and we'll see how we go. And then I'm threading up and I'm like, yeah, I never thought about the fact that I would need more heddles on some of these shafts. So it came to that point and then I thought, okay, you know, I know what to do here. I'm a weaver and I like to problem solve and I can fix any issue that I come across. I'll just make some heddles and I'll tie them directly onto the shafts where they're missing. Great, cool, excellent idea in theory, except once I actually came to the weaving, I found that a lot of my heddles that I had made were not quite as correctly measured as I thought they were. And so what I've ended up with is like messy sheds. Yeah, it's just that the sheds are a little bit all over the place. So it's actually been a bit of a trial weaving this. Thankfully, it's only a sampler. I just wanted to try out some 8-shaft overshot and see how the different yarn combinations looked before I did a bigger piece. Anyway, none of that is very relevant to today, but I thought that some of you might notice, you know, why are your sheds a little bit uneven? Why do you have the warp lopsided? Because people tend to notice these things, even if they're not such a big deal to me, and they'll say, hey, how come this? How come that? So I'm preempting any questions and wondering whys. Okay, so let's go back to Tom, who was having problems with his shuttle race. So the shuttle race, I've made a video about this already. Ashford came out with these more recently, and I think they're now included in every new table loom purchase, but at the time they weren't. So this is an older table loom. And so this new shuttle race is something that I attached. The idea of the shuttle race, of course, is to make your sheds smoother. So when you're using your boat shuttle, or even if you're using a stick shuttle, when you open up your shed, it's going to it gives that little bit of support underneath the warp. If you want to see my other video about it, go and watch that because I don't need to explain it all over again. Tom's problem was, he was saying the shed, when you open it, when you have the shuttle race attached, is so much smaller. And he has 2 problems with that. He has big hands, and he also found that he couldn't get the boat shuttle through, or it was a bit of a struggle to get the boat shuttle through. So we're going to talk about that. Not so much about the big hands because, hello, I've got little lady hands. But I think with the other suggestion that I have for you today, Tom, I think that might be enough of a help and that your hands won't be such an issue. So let's see. The first thing I want to do is I want to open a shed with and without the shuttle race and measure the shed so that we know exactly what we're talking about here. How much difference exactly is it? All right, so we're opening up the shed and I'm just going to use shafts 1 and 2 every time, just so that we have that exact same example. And let's have a look properly here. And then I'll just use my tape measure, which is always hanging around my neck. Now that's my floating selvage there, so that's why that's sticking up a little bit. So we won't include that in the measurement. I'm going to measure from the top to the bottom with the shuttle race in place. And it's not going to be exact. It's about 1.5 inches. Okay, so now let's remove that shuttle race which is pretty simple to do. You just pull the elastic out, it drops down. Okay, and now I'm going to measure it again using the same top threads. Whoops, let's go inches. Top thread to bottom thread is about 2 inches to the absolute bottom thread. Okay, so there is something in what Tom's saying. We do lose about 1/2 inch when we have the shuttle race in place. I'm going to pop the shuttle race back because I need to use it for the next part of the experiment. Okay, so now that we know there is a definite difference in the width of the shed or the space of the shed when we are using the shuttle race and when we're not, I've got a few different boat shuttles here of mine that I own, and I'm going to use a few of them to see what we can get away with in this shed. So I've still got those shafts 1 and 2 open, so we're exactly the same setup as we were. And I'm looking at this beautiful boat shuttle here. It's a closed bottom shuttle, this one, and that makes it a little bit taller. So from here to here, it's about 1 1/4 inches height, okay? So no, I don't have it threaded up, but that doesn't matter. We're doing an experiment here. So I'm entering the shed with the shuttle, and yeah, it is a squeeze. Now, another thing that Tom mentioned is he's weaving on an 80 centimetre width, which is quite a bit wider. It's like 32 inches to this 16-inch width one that I've got here. So that's going to be an issue as well, because he has that much wider width, about twice as wide as what I'm weaving here. And he needs to get his boat shuttle from one side to the other. Ideally in one go and without having to stop and push the boat shuttle along because it doesn't get there. So even on this shorter width of weaving, this boat shuttle is struggling to get through. Now, if I try and throw it, it does come through, but I can imagine on double the width of this, yeah, it'd be stopping because it wants to stop in the middle here anyway. So that one's a little tall, okay? So I wouldn't be using that probably on this particular project. Let's try another one. Let's see what I've got, such a variety here. And this one is like, it's over an inch. Can you see? Oh dear, the light. Yeah, it's over an inch, but it's not to 1 1/4 inches. So it's slightly less tall than the last shuttle that we looked at. I'm just going to wind this yarn in because I don't want that ending up everywhere. Not actually using that yarn for this project. This is also a closed bottom shuttle, okay? All right, let's see how we go. All right, so that one is definitely more feasible. Make sure, of course, always that you advance your warp little and often is my motto. And also that your beater is pushed all the way back and that your shuttle is near the beater, because that's where your biggest amount of space is. All right, so pushing that back, let's see. Okay, so it gets through, but still it's going to struggle to get through. I can't actually hold the beater back and throw at the same time because I'll throw straight into into the camera. Don't want that. So I can't do a proper throw. If I could do a proper throw while holding the beater back, this would go through without too much problem. But not being able to hold it right back, see how it comes forward a little? And so that narrows the shed just slightly. Let's have a throw now. Oh, there we go, and I almost hit the camera anyway. Okay, so that one is better suited. Now, I've got, this is an Ashford open bottom shuttle. And this is what they sell as like their student shuttle. It's the smallest one that they've got in terms of length. But let's measure the width before we go. So this one is just under 1 inch. Okay, so let's imagine that we've got a warp twice as wide, and I haven't pushed back the beater because I want to throw this, and look at that. It slips through, no problems whatsoever. It also has quite a high gloss on it, this shuttle, which helps it to get through. So the last shuttle that I'm going to try is another of my beautiful Pickers Ridge shuttles. I've reviewed these before, and I'll leave a link down below to these beautiful handmade Australian shuttles. This one it's almost identical in size to the Ashford as far as the height goes, but the shape of the two shuttles is a little different. You see the Ashford has more of like a sharper edge on it, and it is sort of convex, whereas the Pickers Ridge one, and this is towards the end I'm talking about, the Pickers Ridge one is concave. So let's see how that goes. I just want to wind that yarn in again because I don't need that. And I'm going to set it ready to go. Okay, so that one also shoots through. I'm going to remove the yarn. It's a little bit annoying because I can't really use no yarn in one and then use yarn in another and compare them properly. There we go. No problems whatsoever. So this particular shuttle, this is an open bottom boat shuttle, which means that they can make it a little more slimline. So this is a low profile shuttle, and so is the Ashford shuttle. These are both low profile shuttles, and they're both open bottom. So I've talked in other videos about how in different circumstances you'll use different shuttles, and in this particular circumstance, a low profile shuttle with an open bottom works really well because it's light, it's fast, it gets the job done without any headaches. Friends, I hope this video has been really helpful to you. So my recommendation for this situation would be a low profile, open bottom shuttle, and you will be able to see the difference. And I hope this makes a better weaving experience for at least some of you. Until next time, happy weaving.